story of Yosef and his brothers is, of course, one which is perplexing, which every year, no matter how many times you learn through the Mefarshim, the commentaries of different perspectives, it's a puzzle, it's a challenge to figure out what the motivation was of everyone. The brothers in selling Yosef and plotting against him, almost killing him, Yosef's motivation, the things he did, Yaakov, the father, the motivations he had. What I want to focus on tonight, though, is one character who's not, I wouldn't say overlooked, he's definitely focused on, but very striking his behavior, and that is the oldest of Yaakov's sons, Reuven. Because he is the one who basically seems to get the credit for saving Yosef. When the brothers are planning to go ahead and kill him, and again, they had a cheshbon of calculations, a lot of discussion about how they saw Yosef as a tremendous existential threat, and they felt they really had no choice here. And then it says that Reuven said, he says, let's not kill him. How cool, we shouldn't kill him. And he said, let's not spill blood, rather let's cast him into a pit in the desert. Our hands should not be against him. And the pasuk finishes, in order to save him from their hands, to return him to his father. So it's a striking thing, the Midrash points out here. This is an unusual thing for the Torah to do. Usually the Torah tells us what people did and what they said. It usually doesn't tell us the thoughts of motivations. Here, say Chazal or Chachamim tell us that the first part of the pasuk is Reuven speaking and saying, let's not kill him, let's throw him into the pit. And then the last part is saying why he said that was in order to save him. His plans will throw him in the pit, right? And then, they'll go about their business, and Reuven will come back later when no one's looking and rescue him. So, first question, why was Reuven the one who spoke up to defend Yosef? Why was it Reuven? Why Reuven? Yeah, Shmuel?
Because if anything happened, he would be the one blamed.
So Rashi quotes the Medrash and says, Reuven's the oldest. And he says, this goes bad, this is on me. I'm the oldest, I'm going to take the blame. I don't want to have the blame for this when it comes out this was a terrible mistake and everybody's furious. They say, you're the oldest, how did you let this happen? Good. That's the simplest explanation. Is the oldest, he doesn't want to get blamed for what happened. Good. Anything else? Anybody else? Yeah.
He feels he owed Yosef in a way from the Judaim.
Why does he owe Yosef?
Yeah, because he was born because Reuven found the Judaim, and then.
That was actually Yisachar was born from that. Yeah, Yisachar was born from that. But actually, the Medrash says a striking thing. The Medrash says a different way that Reuven felt he owed Yosef, so to speak. Yeah.
His mother, Yosef's mother, was really the one that should have married Yaakov originally. And he felt like whatever, like listen, like Rachel's really the one, right? And I don't want to cause any sorrow from Rachel to Leah.
Good, very good shot, very nice. Good. So a little payback for his mother who sacrificed so that I could be born. Excellent, good. The Medrash says another way also, he felt, this is striking, beautiful thing the Medrash says, is he felt Yosef, so how can I let this boy die when this boy did something wonderful for me? What did this boy do? So Reuven is very famous for being one of the world's first Baalei Tshuva. The Medrash tells us that he spent basically his entire life after the sin, which he committed last week's Parsha, where he interfered with his father's sleeping arrangements, a terrible thing. He had a calculation, he had a reason for doing it, but it was the wrong thing to do. Afterwards he realized it, and he spends the rest of his life doing tshuva for that. Reuven, says the Medrash, was afraid that basically what he did was so bad, that's it, he's gone, he's finished, he's history. He's going to be following the paths of Esav and Yishmael, be kicked out of the family, there's going to be 11 tribes instead of 12 tribes. Now, the Medrash says that right after Reuven's sin, it says, Vayu b'nei Yaakov shnei masar. Yaakov had 12 sons. And why is it right away? The Medrash says, to tell you, don't think that Reuven did the sin, it sounds like in the pasuk, they committed adultery. He didn't do that, because then he wouldn't have been one of the 12 sons. He did something that was considered on his level almost as bad. But Reuven didn't know about that pasuk being written. We have that pasuk. Reuven didn't know that. So he feels maybe there's no... You know who tells him? That he's not out? Yosef. Because Yosef comes back and tells him about the dreams. And he says, 11 sheaves bowing down to me. 11 stars in the sun and the moon. And everybody says, oh, wow. Either Yosef is a prophet, in which case I don't want to mess with him, or he's just making up a nice story here, and he's including me. So how can I go ahead and see him killed? Very nice. Another explanation, which again I did not see anyone who says, but makes a lot of sense to me, also ties in with Reuven being the Baal Tshuva. Again, Reuven made a mistake. he made a calculation of what was right for his mother's honor. He felt it was appropriate to switch the dads once his mother, once Rachel dies, and then Yaakov goes ahead and makes his primary residence with Rachel's servant, Bilhah. So Reuben says, listen, my mother Leah was second fiddle her entire life. She's giving me second fiddle now to a maidservant. And he goes and switches the beds. It was good motivations. Wrong. And he does tshuva for it. So perhaps Reuben is therefore the one to realize, there's a good, we're coming up with a whole calculation why this is the right thing to do. We should do to Yosef. But you know what? I've been burned before. I've had, with good motivations, done something that was terribly wrong. I don't want to do the same thing again. And therefore, Reuben is the one to realize maybe this is not right. We have good motivations. We think we have to protect ourselves, but this is the wrong thing to do, and therefore I have to make plans to save him. But then the question comes up: whatever the reason was that Reuben decided to go ahead and save Yosef, why didn't he just save him? Why throw him in the pit? So we shouldn't actually be killing him. And if he gets killed, he kills not by your hand. Plan to go and save him. Why didn't he just say, wrong, we're not doing this, and save him?
That's not how it works, but okay.
That's what?
It's not how it works.
Well, it's not how it works.
There are 10 other brothers.
Okay, 10 other brothers, and
One Reuben. That's not how it works.
can't convince them. Can't convince them. Speak up strongly.
If
I mean, they seem pretty set on it.
if he would have tried to convince them and they would have defied what he said, then it would have been much worse. He's probably cheshboning, if I say for them not to kill him and then they decide to do it anyways, like just to spite me, then like it'll be much worse because then you won't have a chance to save him. If they just try to schlep or whatever, then it could be.
So like mutav shushogim v'ayom mizid.
Sheva
Good. The point is that Reuben obviously. There's two possibilities here. One possibility is either Reuben himself was conflicted, he wasn't really sure what the right thing to do. One of the opinions on the Medrash says this, that it was a question of conviction, he wasn't sure. But the simple explanation is like you're saying, that Reuben felt clear that it's the right thing to do, but how am I going to go ahead and stand up to all my brothers, and how am I going to go ahead with all this pressure and say, no, this is wrong, I'm not going to do it. And that concept, that's the simple way of understanding why Reuben wasn't directly saving him. And that's something we can all very much relate to. Because there are times we're not sure, actually. If Reuben was conflicted about what was right, there are times we're not sure. We have a very, very significant moral dilemma. We're trying to choose between two sides. And we have a sense that one is right and one is wrong, but we're not convinced. And everyone's saying, this is right. We feel they're wrong, but we're not sure. Usually, if we think and delve deep inside our hearts, we'll come to the answer of what the right thing is to do. And those times that we cannot find the truth in ourselves, there's usually someone we can ask, who's older and wiser, or who's objective, who can tell us what the right thing is. But the second part is usually the bigger problem. Usually it's not a question of knowing what the right thing is to do, but standing up and doing it. Having not just the conviction of what's right, but the courage of our convictions to follow against pressure. When everyone else is saying, do X, and we know we shouldn't, to say, no, not going to do X. That's a really, really difficult, challenging thing to do. And Reuben apparently was not up to that task. There's another Medrash of Megillus Rus, which tells us a very powerful statement. It says this pasuk, it says, Reuben heard, he sold, and he saved them. He saved the brothers from killing Yosef. The Medrash says, if Reuben had known that pasuk was going to be written in the Torah for all posterity, that in the future, every Jew is going to read that pasuk, how Reuben saved Yosef. Had he known that was going to happen, he would have picked Yosef up in the presence of all the brothers and carried him on his shoulders back to their father. And this Medrash is telling us something very, very powerful. Reuben, at the time, had been able to realize what the consequences are going to be in the future. The consequences of this sin and the consequences of not doing this sin. And it's not just a question of the credit, but realizing that for all future generations, his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and everybody's children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, would see the effects of this. and would say, Shkoyach, you saved the day, you did the right thing, nothing would have stopped him from convincing the brothers and from saving them and answering any argument and fighting that whatever force he needed to do to save them. Nothing would have stopped him. And that's the thing. That's the challenge for us when we're in that situation of a challenge or struggle where we know what the right thing is to do, but there's a lot of pressure not to do it. To think beyond today. Sometimes I don't think we're ever going to get into decisions like this where, like, I don't know, should we kill our brother or not? And you got to speak up to them. No one's going to throw your brother in a pit, sell him into slavery. But there are other big decisions that come up. And sometimes to stand up to a crowd, to a mob mentality, is a really, really tough thing. And if we recognize someday in the future, Hashem, the consequences of what I do today could be cosmic, could be hugely significant for me, for my family, for my friends, for my community. Sometimes they can even have a ripple effect that will affect the Jewish people in a magnificent way. And if that's the way we look at those decisions that come up, the right and wrong decisions, we recognize Hashem's going to have something to say about this. If I do the right thing, not only am I not going to regret it, but someday the consequences could be so great. And if we think ahead of time, had Reuben been able to do that, he would have saved the day. We could be in positions that by doing the right thing, standing up to others, that we could save the day. Everybody have a chance.